Hello everyone and welcome to the Ssc Cgl mock tests, and of course we are having a topic based test over here. So for today's topic it is reading comprehension. So you are given a passage and the length of the passages, of course, they vary, but in the case of Ssc Cgl exams the length is not too long. It is just one paragraph, so roughly around 100 words to 150 words, and you are given a set of normally 5 questions after that. So you need to read the passage first, comprehend it, and then go to the answers. So let's get down to it, down to our page over here. We'll say let's start our mock test, and there we have it, our first passage over here. It says question number 1. It reads, a passage is given with 5 questions following it. Read the passage carefully and choose the best answer to each question out of the 4 alternatives. So here we go with the passage. I'm going to read it out for you to start off. It reads, he waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. With a loud scream, he fell outwards and downwards into space. His mother had soared upwards. As he passed beneath her, he heard the swish of her wings. Then a monstrous terror seized him and his heart stood still. He could hear nothing. But it only lasted a moment. The next moment he felt his wings spread outwards. The wind rushed against his breast feathers, then under his stomach and against his wings. He could feel the tip of his wings cutting through the air. He was not falling headlong now. He was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was no longer afraid. He just felt a bit dizzy. Then he flapped his wings once and he soared upwards. With utter joy, he uttered a joyous scream and flapped them again. He soared higher. He raised his breast and banged against the wind. His mother swooped past him, her wings making a loud noise. He answered her with another scream. Now that is the passage. So I think the story is about a bird, a fledgling bird who is still learning to fly and afraid to fly. So let's get down to the questions over here so we get a better comprehension of the passage. The first question which we are asked reads, the young seagull dived at the fish. So it's the story of a young seagull. So the options given are maddened by anger, maddened by want, out of spite, or out of loneliness. Why did the young seagull dive at the fish? Now we can read at the beginning of the passage. If we scroll up, it reads, he waited a moment in surprise, wondering why she did not come nearer, and then, maddened by hunger, he dived at the fish. So in fact, he was very hungry. That is why he dived at the fish. So it cannot be option A, which says maddened by anger. Option B, it says maddened by want. So hunger is a kind of want. So this can very well be true. Out of spite, out of loneliness doesn't solve our question over here. It is option B, which says maddened by want. So this is the correct option for question number 1. Option B it is. We say maddened by want. So let's go and click on option B. And then we say next question. So on to question number 2, and it reads, of course, the same passage we are dealing with about the young seagull. And the question reads, his heart stood still because he was seized by, the option says A, a monstrous fury, B says courage, C says a monstrous terror, or D says joy. So his heart stood still. Let's go back to the passage again and if we can read this over here, this line which says, then a monstrous terror seized him and his heart stood still. Okay, so this is the line we should be keeping in mind when we are answering this question over here. So once again, let's go back to the question, and the options which read a monstrous fury, a monstrous courage, a monstrous terror, and a monstrous joy. It is in fact option C, as we can see in that line, because a monstrous terror seized him. This is the right answer, option C. So we once again go ahead and click option C, and I say save and next. So on to question number 3 from the same passage, and let's look at the question first. Write down. It says, he was not falling headlong, but option says he was afraid. He was soaring downwards and outwards. His stomach was full, or he was joining his father. Now, he was falling headlong, but let's go up to the passage. Now, this line over here, he was not falling headlong now, but he was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. So this is the line we need to be careful about, and this is in fact the answer to our question. So he was soaring gradually downwards and outwards. He was not falling headlong now. So let's get down to the question. And we can see in option B, which says he was soaring downwards and outwards, which is why he was not falling headlong now. So this option B is our right answer. So let's go and click option B and say save and next. On to question number 4 from reading comprehension. Of course, we are in the same passage, and let's look at the question first. Scroll right down, and it says, the seagull just felt dizzy, and the options given are, and was filled with fear, and was no longer afraid. C says, and did not flap his wings anymore, and D says, and dived lower. So we need to get into the passage again. Go right up. Seagull just felt dizzy. Do we see it somewhere over here? Yes, I can see it right over here. It says he just felt a bit dizzy, and the line previous to this says he was no longer afraid. He just felt dizzy. So he was no longer afraid is our answer, which is given very clearly in the passage. So when we go down to the options, can we see that? Yes, we can see option B, which says he was no longer afraid, and that is going to be our answer, our one right option. The seagull just felt dizzy and was no longer afraid. So we go and click on option B and say save and next. Go on to question number 5, and it's from the same passage. It's the last question from the passage. We'll read the question first by scrolling down, all the way down, and the question reads, what did the young seagull do when his mother swooped past him? So the options read, let out a joyous scream, screamed at her in anger, made a loud noise, or flapped anxiously. So let's go up to the passage. When his mother swooped past him, what did the seagull do? So we have it here. Yeah, I can see the line which says his mother swooped past him and he answered her with another scream. And what kind of scream? It's a joyous scream. It's another scream. So we have the answer over here. In fact, very self-evident in the passage. And scroll down for answers. Let out a joyous scream. Yes, it is in fact option A. Let out a joyous scream. We can see it very clearly in the passage over there. So this is our answer, option A. We shall go and click on option A and say next. So on to question number 6 in reading comprehension, and it's a fresh passage, new passage. So let's read the passage first and then we get down to the questions. So it's called Tryst with Destiny. Tryst with Destiny was a speech delivered by Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister of independent India, to the Indian Constituent Assembly in Parliament on 14th of August 1947. It is considered to be one of the greatest speeches of all times and to be a landmark oration that captures the essence of the triumphant culmination of the largely non-violent Indian independence struggle against the British Empire in India. Long years ago, we made a tryst with destiny, and now the time comes when we shall redeem our pledge, not wholly or in full measure, but very substantially. Freedom and power bring responsibility. The responsibility rests upon the Assembly, a sovereign body representing the sovereign people of India. The service of India means the service of the millions who suffer. It means the ending of poverty and ignorance and disease and inequality of opportunity. We cannot encourage communalism or narrow-mindedness, for no nation can be great whose people are narrow in thought or in action. To the people of India, whose representatives we are, there is no time for petty and destructive criticism, no time for ill will or blaming others. We have to build the noble mansion of free India with where all her children may dwell. So this is in brief the passage over here, and so we come to the question, question number 6, which says, to whom did Nehru, once again we are going to scroll down to the question, to whom did Nehru deliver this famous speech? So the options before us read, Nehru delivered this speech to a massive Indian crowd in attendance. B says, Nehru delivered the speech to the members of the Constituent Assembly. C says, Nehru delivered the speech to the members of the Lok Sabha. Or D, Nehru delivered the speech to the members of the Rajya Sabha. And let's get down to the options. Sorry, it went on to a different page. So we are going to scroll up to the passage. To whom did Nehru deliver the speech? So we can see in the first paragraph itself was a speech delivered by Jawaharlal Nehru, the first Prime Minister, to the Indian Constituent Assembly in Parliament, which is what it says in Parliament. So we have our answer right in front of us. It's very obvious in the passage that the speech was delivered to the Indian Constituent Assembly. So let's get down to the question once again. Do we have an option which says Indian Constituent Assembly? Yes, we have the option, which is option B, which says Nehru delivered the speech to the members of the Constituent Assembly. So it's very obvious over here. So we need to click option B, which is the right answer, and say next. So on to question number 7, and it's the same passage, and we'll get down to the question down below. It asks us, choose the answer which captures Nehru's belief. A says Nehru believed that India could achieve perfection immediately. B says Nehru said India's struggle for freedom was new and sudden. C says Nehru believed that India could take huge steps towards realizing its dreams. And D says Nehru believed that India's dreams were too unrealistic. So once again, let's go to the passage. Now, over here, for this question, it is not contained in one single line, the answer. So, when we look at the whole speech of Nehru, we have the impression over here that he believed that India could take huge steps towards realizing its potential. Nowhere does he say India could achieve perfection immediately. It doesn't say anywhere on the passage. And also it doesn't say anywhere that India's struggle for freedom was new and sudden, which is option B. It doesn't say anywhere. And neither does it say that India's dreams were too unrealistic. The only thing which is very suggestive is option C, which says India could take huge steps towards realizing its dreams. It is evident in the passage over here. It is ingrained in the passage rather. So we have to click option C and go and click next. So we come to question number 8 and the same passage. So we go down and the question reads, the most dominant voice in the speech is, A says the voice of optimism, B says the voice of surrender, C says the voice of negligence, and D says the voice of weakness. Now this is an answer which is not found in one single line of the passage. It is the theme we have to look throughout the passage. What is the kind of voice he is using? What is the kind of feeling or tone he is using in his speech? And over here, is it a voice of optimism? I think yes, it is. Is it a voice of surrender? I don't think it is a voice of surrender at all. It is not a voice of negligence, which is option C. And option D says voice of weakness. Doesn't seem like a voice of weakness either. It is in fact option A, which says it is the voice of optimism. Option A it is. So this is the answer, the correct option to our question, the most dominant voice in the speech. So we click option A. And then we say next. So on to question number 9 from the same passage, and we scroll down to the question right below. So it reads, select the answer which best reflects Nehru's point of view. So option A says Nehru believed that communalism would not be a problem. B says Nehru believed that communalism would be a positive force. C says Nehru believed that communalism would be dangerous for India. And D says Nehru believed that communalism would make any nation great. So let's look at the passage. We scroll up. If anything is said of communalism, so yes, we have a small line over here which says we cannot encourage communalism or narrow-mindedness, for no nation can be great whose people are narrow in thought or in action. So this is the line where our answer is ingrained. So we'll come back again. We cannot encourage communalism. So he believed that it is option C, that communalism would be dangerous for India, because he says very clearly in the passage that would be dangerous. So we click option C and save and next. So we come to question number 10, and it's the same passage, and come scrolling down to the option right below. The question reads, what mansion did Nehru want to see built? The options are: Nehru believed that the expensive mansion of India should be built. Nehru believed that the honorable mansion of India should be built. Or C says Nehru believed that the simple mansion of India should be built. And D says Nehru believed that the huge mansion of India should be built. I think our answer is there towards the end of the passage over here, where there is a line. There we go. We have a line here which says we have to build the noble mansion of free India. It's a noble mansion. So let's see if we have any words which say noble in the options. It says expensive, it says honorable, it says simple, it says huge. So noble and honorable, they are in fact very similar words, of course mean the same thing. And our answer is going to be option B. It says Nehru believed that the honorable mansion of India should be built. This is our answer, option B, because it says noble. And noble cannot be expensive or simple or huge, but it can be honorable. So we click option B. Save and next. Go on to question number 11 in reading comprehension. It's a fresh passage. We read the passage first and go down to the passage. It reads, there is a time in every man's education when he arrives at the conviction that envy is ignorance, that imitation is suicide, that he must take himself for better, for worse as his portion, that through the wide universe, that though the wide universe is full of good, no kernel of nourishing corn can come to him but through his toil bestowed on that plot of ground which is given to him to till. The power that resides in him is new in nature, and none but he knows what that is which he can do, nor does he know until he has tried. Not for nothing one face, one character, one fact makes much impression on him, and another one, and another none. This culture in the memory is not without pre-established harmony. The eye was placed where one ray should fall, that it may testify of that particular ray. We but half express ourselves and are ashamed of the divine idea which each of us represents. It may be safely trusted as proportionate and of good issues, so it be faithfully imparted, but God will not have his work made manifest by cowards. A man is relieved and gay when he has put his heart into his work and has done his best, but what he has said or done otherwise shall give him no peace. It is a deliverance which does not deliver. In the attempt his genius deserts him, no muse befriends, no invention, no hope. So this is a kind of a slightly tougher passage compared to the two previous passages we have read. So we come to the questions, which is question number 11 over here. It says, which of the following does the author appear to highlight in this essay? The options read: being contented with the status quo, knowing oneself better, working hard and sincerely, or waiting for better opportunities. So this does not appear in any particular line of the essay. It is a theme which is throughout the essay, and if we read it carefully, we know the answer is option C, which says working hard and sincerely. This is what the author is trying to highlight in the essay, and not any of the others over here. It is working hard and sincerely. So we click option C and say next. On to question number 12, and in the reading comprehension, of course, we are in the same passage, and the Let's scroll down to the questions, and question number 12 that is. It says, when is a man relieved and gay? And the options read, when he has untapped potential. B says, when he has put his heart into his work and has done his best. C says, when destiny smiles at him. And D says, when he achieves his goal. So we go down to the passage, the part of the passage where it speaks about when is a man relieved and gay. And I think there we have it over here. This line which says, a man is relieved and gay when he has put his heart into his work and has done his best. So when a man has put his heart into his work and has done his best, he is relieved and gay. So we can come down to the question and read the options. Do we have that option? Yes, we have the option, which is option B, which says, when he has put his heart into his work and has done his best, that is when he is relieved and gay. So we got our answer right from the passage itself. It's option B. And we click on B and go to the next question. And it's question number 13. And the same passage again. We scroll down to the question number 13. It reads, according to the author, God is not looking for dash to manifest his works. The options given are cowards, stubborn people, weaklings, or all of these. And let's scroll up to the passage again. Where does they speak about God is not looking for something to manifest his works? And yes, we have it here. It says this line over here. God will not have his work made manifest by cowards. We have it here. So it's very self-evident in the paragraph itself that God will not make his work made manifest by cowards. So we go down to the question again, which is down, and is there an option which says cowards? Yes, it is option A. So option A over here says cowards. So A is the right answer for question number 13. Let's click on option A and we say next. To question number 14, and it's from the same passage. So we are scrolling down to question number 14. It reads, what is that which only the person himself knows and must act in order to discover it? So the options given are his untapped potential, his destiny that lies in the future. C says the power that resides in him, and D says the joy of achieving success. So we go down into the passage and read about what does the person himself know and must act in order to discover it. And I think we got it over here. Yeah, we have our answer in this line, which says the power which resides in him is new in nature, and none but he knows what that is, which he can do, nor does he know it until he has tried. We have our answer in this line, which says the power which resides in him. Only he knows that. So when we come down to the passage again, and do we have an option which says, yes, we have option number C, which says the power which resides in him. It is that which the person himself knows and must act in order to discover it, is the power which resides in him. It's option 3, our right option. So I'm going to click option C. Say next. Question number 15, the last question from this passage, and scroll right down to the question, and it asks us, what does the word manifest mean? Now, the meaning of the word manifest, they've given us 4 options: display, hide, shout, and try. And in this passage, or anywhere else, in fact, the word manifest would best mean display. Manifest doesn't mean hide or shout or try. It means display. So we will click on option A. It says display, and we shall move on. So on to question number 16, and it's a fresh new passage. And first, let's read the passage first. And it reads, Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose, one of the greatest of modern scientists, graduated from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. He then obtained tripos of Cambridge University and joined the Presidency College, Kolkata as Professor of Physics. He was a pioneer in the discovery of the wireless and radio and the microwave. He made remarkable contribution to the science of botany by proving with the help of an instrument of his own invention that not only do trees and plants have life, but feel pleasure and pain as we do. He was perhaps the first scientist to suggest the possibility of gathering and utilizing energy from solar rays. Last but not the least was the Bose Institute, which he founded in 1917. It has now become a world-famous research laboratory doing yeoman's service to various branches of science. So there we have the passage. It's about this Indian scientist called Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose and his contributions. So the first question, which is question number 16 in this passage, it asks us, Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose, one of the greatest of modern scientists, graduated from which college? The options given are St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, Cambridge University, Presidency College, Kolkata, or Bose Institute. And let's go up to the passage to see which is our answer. And there we have an answer, I think. Then the first line, which says Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose, one of the greatest of Indian, greatest modern scientists, graduated from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. Graduated from St. Xavier's College, Kolkata. So, do we have that option down? Let's check if we have St. Xavier's College. Yes, we have option A, which says St. Xavier's College, Kolkata, which is going to be our answer, the right option. This is our answer. Self-evident in the passage. So, we are going to click on option A and then say save and next. So on to question number 17 and the second question from this passage, and let's scroll right down to the question, which reads, what is meant by yeoman's service? Is it option A, minimal, or invaluable, or discrete, or sporadic? And the correct answer is option B, which says invaluable. Yeoman's service means invaluable service. It doesn't mean any of the rest, minimal or discrete or sporadic. No, it is only invaluable. So we click option B and we say next. So we come to question number 18 and scroll down to the question because the passage is on top, and the question reads, Acharya Jagadish Chandra Bose was a pioneer in the discovery of the wireless, radio and the dash. The options given are toaster, oven, microwave and radio. And let's scroll up to the passage to see what was he a pioneer in. And there we have it. I think our answer is right here, which says he was a pioneer in the discovery of the wireless and radio and the microwave. There we have our answer. It's the microwave. So scroll down again to the question. Do we have an option called the microwave? There it is. It is option C. It says microwave. This is going to be our answer. So let's click on option C. And I will say save and next. So on to question number 19 and the fourth question from the passage, and we'll scroll down to the question which is down below. It reads, Jagadish Chandra Bose made remarkable contribution to the science of botany by proving with the help of an instrument of his own invention that trees and plants not only life, but the options read feel joyous and excited as we do. B says feel happy and sad as we do. C says feel excitement and pain as we do. And D says feel pleasure and pain as we do. So let's go up to the passage to see if there's anything said about this. There we have it. Our answer is right here in this line, which says with the help of an instrument of his own invention that not only do trees and plants have life, but feel pleasure and pain as we do. So we have our answer, pleasure and pain it is. And so our answer is going to be option D, which says feel pleasure and pain as we do. We have it here, right off the passage. So we click option D and say next. So on to number 20, and once again the question. What is meant by a tripos from Cambridge University? Options read scholarship, a trophy, a degree, or a medallion. Now, a tripos is actually a degree, which is option C. It is a degree. We have our option, the right option, option C. We click on this option. We say next. So on to question number 21 of the reading comprehension topic, and it's a fresh passage. We will read the passage first. It reads, some languages are used by a few people. Others, such as Mandarin, Chinese, and English, are spoken by millions. Many people speak two or more languages. They may use one language at home with family and friends, and another at work or school. Regional variations of language are known as dialects. The Anglo-Saxons who conquered Britain at the end of the Roman Empire spoke a Germanic language, which later became English. Other Germanic languages include Danish, Dutch, German, and Swedish. English also contains French-derived words after it was ruled by French-speaking kings following the Norman conquest. Now this is our passage, and it's a pretty easy one. Let's get down to the questions. And it asks us, Mandarin Chinese is spoken by dash people. The options given are little, few, many, and big. Now if we go up to the passage over here, it says in the opening line, in the opening paragraph rather, others such as Mandarin Chinese and English are spoken by millions. So we know it's spoken by many people if they're speaking about millions here. So when we get down to the passage, our options over here is going to be, the correct option is going to be option C, which says many. Mandarin Chinese is spoken by many people because it's mentioned it's spoken by millions of people. So we click option C and say next. So on to question number 22. It's the second question from the same passage. And we scroll down to the question. It says a person who is good at foreign languages is known as, the options given are virtuoso, linguist, ventriloquist, or scholar. And the correct option, a person who is good at foreign languages, is a linguist. Linguist is our correct option. So we click option B and say next. So on to question number 23, and scroll to the question right at the bottom. It says dash are regional variations of a language. So the options given are English, Mandarin Chinese, home language, or dialects. So let's scroll up to the passage, and there's this line over here which says regional variations of languages of a language are known as dialects. It's said very clearly in the passage. Regional variations of a language are called dialects. So we have to choose our option, and our option is option D, which says dialects. It's very self-evident in the passage. Option D is the correct option. So we click here, option D, and say next. So on to question number 24, and it's from the same passage, the fourth question. And the question asks us, English also included French words dash the Norman conquest. So the options given are after, prior, before, or during. So we can find the answer in the passage. It says in the last line, right over here, it says English also contains French-derived words after it was ruled by French-speaking kings following the Norman conquest. The key word is after over here, and this is our answer, after. So we go down to the passage, and there is an option over here which says after. It is option A, which is our right answer. English also included French words after the Norman conquest. So we click option A and say next. So on to question number 25, and the question asks us, dash is part of a Germanic language. So options are Britain, Anglo-Saxons, English, and Roman Empire. Now, the only option over here which is a language is English, because Britain is not a language, Anglo-Saxon is not a language, and Roman Empire is also not a language. So what is part of a Germanic language? It is the only language we have on our list, which is option C, which says English. English is part of a Germanic language. So this is our correct option. We shall click on English, option C, and say next. So on to question number 26, and it's a fresh new passage, reading comprehension, of course. We shall read the passage first. It reads, there is a growing parallel between India and Europe in terms of language policy and challenges of maintaining a balance between regional languages, minority languages, and the rising demand for English. The EU's language policy promotes multinationalism and the idea that every EU citizen should learn and speak at least 2 foreign languages in addition to their mother tongue. In practice, the foreign language curriculum in European countries is dominated now by the need to learn English. So the de facto policy is that children should, in addition to the language of their member state, learn English and one other European language. English has become not only the language of business across Europe, but also the corporate language of many French, German, Dutch, and Spanish enterprises. So, the trend across Europe is for schools to begin teaching English in class 1, treating it as a basic skill rather than a foreign language. This trend began in earnest only after 2000. However, the methods to teach English are diverse. An increasingly popular trend is towards bilingual schools which teach through more than one language medium. So that is the passage, and the first question from this passage asks, there is a parallel between India and Europe as regards, the options read, language policy, trade policy, foreign policy, or cultural policy. Now let's come to the very beginning of the passage. It says right in this line over here, there is a growing parallel between India and Europe in terms of language policy. So we have it very clearly stated. The growing parallel between India and Europe is in terms of language policy. So the question over here, we have the correct option, which is option A. It says language policy. This is going to be a right answer. We shall go ahead and click on this answer, option A, and then say next. Coming to question number 27 and the second question from this passage, we'll scroll down right to the bottom of the passage for the question. It says, according to the passage, the foreign language policy in the EU aims to foster, options given are English, multilingualism, bilingualism, or only native language. And let's scroll down to the passage, towards the beginning of the passage, and it said very clearly over here on this line, the EU's language policy promotes multinationalism. So this is our answer right here given in the passage. So we scroll down again to the question, and there we have our answer over here, which is option B, which says multilingualism. This is our answer, and we shall click on option B, save and next. So we come to question number 28, and scroll to the question again. It asks us, the passage says that the rising demand for English in the EU is because of options given are immigrants, government policy, or trade and commerce. Now, when we come to the passage, it says in these lines, English has become not only the language of business across Europe, but also the corporate language of many French, German, Dutch, and Spanish enterprises. So it is mainly about business, trade, and commerce, as we say it. So when we look at the options below, we have an option which says trade and commerce. Option D it is. This is our right option. So it's option D. We will click option D and save and next. So on to question number 29 and the fourth question from this passage. We scroll right down to the question. It says EU schools regard English as a foreign language, a difficult language, a basic skill, or an adult skill. And when we get down to the passage, we can read it very clearly over here in this line, which says treating it as a basic skill rather than a foreign language. It is treated as a basic skill. So we have our answer right in front of us in the passage. So we scroll down, and do we see our answer here? Yes, it is. It's option C, which says a basic skill. This is going to be our answer, the right option, option C. We click here and save and next. So we come to question number 30 and scroll down. It says, in Europe, the usual pattern is that children should study English late in life. Children should start learning English from class 1. Children may not study English when they are at school, and children ought to study English just as a lingua franca. So we have our answer here in the second paragraph, which says the trend across Europe is for schools to begin teaching English in class 1. So our answer is very evident over here. We can see it in one of the options, which is option B, which says children should start learning English from class 1. This is our correct answer as given in the passage. So I shall click option B and say save and next. So coming on to question number 31, it's reading comprehension and it's a fresh passage, and we'll read the passage first. It reads, of the many changes that have taken place thanks to liberalization, a major one is that today's youngsters are earning more than ever before. In some cases, they draw even fatter salaries than their parents, but are they blowing it up or sensibly saving it? Though some tend to splurge, there are many who have started saving. Some of them go in for mutual funds and tax-saving bonds. Some even go in for investments that give them tax breaks. Insurance, home loans, mutual funds, saving schemes. In fact, the average age of a person taking a housing loan has come down from 41 to 28 in the last 5 years. Now, where do they get their investment advice from? Some feel it's a combination of friends, family, broker, advisors, the media and the net. So we come to the question now. The question asks us, liberalization has enabled our youngsters to, the options read, be paid more, work hard, blow up money or look after their money. And if we look at the first line over here, it says, right at the start, thanks to liberalization, a major one is that today's youngsters are earning more than ever before. Youngsters are earning more than ever before. That is our answer. So when we come down to the options, we know it's going to be option A, which says be paid more. It has enabled them to be paid more than ever before. So option A is our answer. Click option A and then say next. So on to question number 32. It's of the same passage. It's the second question from the passage. It says blowing it up means options are spending extravagantly, exaggerating, spending on smoking, or donating liberally. And blowing it up means option A, which says spending extravagantly. Spending a lot extravagantly is said to be blowing up money, blowing it up. So we click option A, say next. On to number 33, and we come to the question again. It says the average age of a person taking housing loan has come down because he, options are, gets fat salaries even at a young age, has wealthy parents, goes in for mutual funds or buys lottery tickets. And we know it right from the beginning of the passage, which says they are earning, the youngsters are earning more, and this line over here, the first ones, which says youngsters are earning more and they're getting fatter salaries than their parents. So which is the main reason they are spending on housing loans? Let's get down to the question again. So average age has come down because of this reason over here, which is stated in option A, which is gets fat salaries even at a young age. The only reason why average age of a person taking housing loans has decreased. So we click option A, say next. Coming on to question number 34 from the same passage, we scroll down. We come to the question. It asks us, the investments that give people tax breaks are Beg your pardon, we have to select which of the following is false. So the statement says the investments that give people tax breaks are mutual funds, home loans, savings scheme, or purchasing jewelry. Which of them gives tax breaks and which of them will not? Because we are asked which one is false. So let's look at the passage, and it says over here in this line, investments which give them tax breaks are insurance, home loans, and mutual fund saving schemes. So we have three of them over here, but we have one thing over here, which is option D. It says purchasing jewelry. Purchasing jewelry is nowhere related to this over here, investments that gives people tax breaks. Purchasing jewelry, it doesn't. It's not mentioned there. So this is our answer because this is false. So we click option D and say next. So coming to question number 35, and we once again scroll down. And this time it asks us, which of the following is true? A says the youngsters today spend all the money they get. B says all the youngsters save all the money they get. C says many youngsters save all the money they get. Or D says a few youngsters spend more while some save. And when we go down to the passage, and we see over here, specifically in the middle, it says some tend to splurge, spend extravagantly. There are many who have started saving. Some splurge, but many save. So that is going to be our answer over here. And we have an option which says, it's option D, which says a few youngsters spend more while some save. And this is the answer over here, or it's option D. We click option D and say save. Coming on to question number 36, it's another passage, and we'll read the passage first. It reads, worry is a very common thing. Even children worry as much as grown-up people. In his childhood, the writer used to fear that his parents would die suddenly at night. His fear and anxiety were just imaginary. When he was on the war front in Mesopotamia, the writer came to a certain conclusion on worrying. He was a subaltern officer. It was not his duty to plan future actions of war. He was there only to carry out what the superiors would decide. So it was useless to worry. When he took that stand, he slept soundly without worry. Here the writer had some real reason to worry, but he could get rid of it when he found it was useless to worry. He followed the same principle when he was a prisoner of war and he was in Asiatic Turkey. There too he banished his worries because nothing of his future depended on himself. The future of the prisoners of war would depend on the various governments. Thus he was able to live there without much worry, though he was a prisoner. But his deliberate suppression of worry during the war and as a prisoner did not wholly eradicate his worries. The fear had gone to his subconscious mind and remained there buried. After the war, the writer was at home, but whenever a member of his family was absent, he feared all sorts of mishap happening to him or her. Moreover, he had a recurring nightmare that he had become a prisoner of war and the war was not going to end. The worries without any real cause here were the manifestations of the fear that he had banished deliberately earlier. So we are coming to the question here. It asks us, why was the writer able to live in jail without much worry? The options given are because nothing of his future depended on himself, he was comfortable in jail, because he was a prisoner of war, or because worry is a common thing. And we go down to the part of the passage where he was in jail, he was a prisoner of war, and we find this line over here which says, he banished his worries because nothing of his future depended on himself. This is our answer over here, right here. So we go down to the question again. And we have our answer right here in option A, which says, because nothing of his future depended on himself. This is our answer. So we click option A and say next. So on to question number 37. It's from the same passage. So we scroll down. The question is, what was the fear of the writer in his childhood? A says that his parents might drive him out of home. B says that his parents would die suddenly at night. C says that he might fail in his examinations. And D says that he might be made a prisoner. So we have to scroll right up to the passage and see. And we have a line over here which says, in his childhood, the writer used to fear that his parents would die suddenly at night. We have our answer here. The writer feared that his parents would die suddenly at night. So we come to the options down again. And we have an option which says that his parents would die suddenly at night. Which is our right option. It's option B. We click on B. And then we say next. So on to question number 38, and we have to scroll down. And the question asks us, where was the writer when he concluded that worry was useless? The options are, the writer was in Asiatic Turkey. B says the writer was at home. C says the writer was on the war front in Mesopotamia. And D says the writer was in prison. So if we scroll up to the passage, we have this line over here which says, when he was on the war front in Mesopotamia, the writer came to a certain conclusion on worrying. So it was useless to worry. This is the conclusion he had about worrying. And he was on the war front in Mesopotamia. So we have found our answer. Let's go down to the options, and there we have it. Option C, which says the writer was on the war front in Mesopotamia. This is going to be the right option. So we click option C. So we say next. Coming to question number 39, it's again from the same passage. So we'll have to scroll down to the question. And the question is, what was the recurring nightmare of the writer after the war was over? The options are, he dreamt that he was a prisoner in a war that was not going to be over. B says he dreamt that his wife was in hospital. C says he dreamt that a member of his family had a mishap. And D says he dreamt he was a prisoner of war in Asiatic Turkey. And if we just scroll up a little bit, its passage speaks something about a nightmare over here. He had a recurring nightmare that he had become a prisoner of war and the war was not going to end. So we have our answer right over here. So when we scroll down to the options again, there we have it. It's in fact option A, which says he dreamt that he was a prisoner in a war and that was not going to be over. This is the right answer for this question. So we click option A and then say next. So on to question number 40, and once again we scroll down to the bottom of the passage for the question. It says, how does a cause of worry trouble us if we suppress our worry deliberately? And the options given are, cause of worry trouble us in various circumstances. Causes of worry remain in the subconscious mind and trouble us through bad dreams. C says, causes of worry cause imaginary anxiety. And D says, we cannot take actions cautiously and carefully. And if we come up to the passage, it says, something over here. The fear had gone to his subconscious mind and remained there buried, and whenever a member of his family are absent, he feared all sorts of mishaps. So it's there in his subconscious, and which is going to be the answer over here. Do we have an option like that? Yes, we have in fact option B, which says causes of worry remain in the subconscious mind and trouble us through bad dreams. This is the answer, the correct option for this question. So we click option B, and then we say next. So on to question number 41 of reading comprehension. It's a new passage, and we shall read the passage again. So it reads, until he was 10, young Alexander Fleming attended the nearby Lowdown Moor School. He was then transferred to Darwell School, which he attended with his brothers. Alexander learnt a great deal about nature during that 4-mile downhill hike to school and 4-mile uphill return trip. He was a quick student, and at 12, the age limit prescribed for Darwell School, he was sent to Kilmarnock Academy. 2 years later, he joined his brothers John and Robert at the home of his elder brother Thomas, who was to become a successful occultist in London. However, the economic success of the family was yet to be, and Alexander was forced to leave school for economic reasons. When he was 16, he obtained a job in a shipping company. Good fortune, however, was on his side and on the side of humanity. In 1901, he received a share in a legacy which made it possible for him to return to school. He decided to study medicine. So, coming to the question over here, it says Alexander trekked dash miles every day to attend Darwell School. So, the options given are 4, 8, 12 or 16. And now when we go to the beginning of the passage, when he goes to Darwell School, there's this line which says, during that 4-mile downhill hike to school and the 4-mile uphill return trip. So we have 4-mile downhill and 4-mile uphill, which makes it 8 miles. And do we have an option which says 8? Yes, we indeed have, which is option B. Option B says 8. This is our right answer. So we click option B. It says 8. Then we say save and next. So on to question number 42, and we scroll down the passage to the question. It asks us, he was a quick student, means that Alexander, options given are reached school before his brothers, was a lively student, ran the races, or was a fast learner. And what do you mean by he was a quick student is in fact option D, which says he was a fast learner. A quick student is a fast learner. Option D is the right option, and we click option D and we say next. On to number 43 and scroll down for the question. And it reads, and at 12, the age limit prescribed for Darwell School in this context means that children were, options read, admitted to school at the age of 12, allowed to remain in the school only up to the age of 12, and C says admitted to the school anytime after the age of 12, and D says not admitted to the school before they were 12. And the right answer is when you come down over here, come up, and it says, and at 12, the age limit prescribed for Darwell School, he was sent to Kilmarnock Academy. Now, he was sent to another school at the age of 12 because that's the age limit up to 12. So that means students can only study up to the age of beg your pardon, up to the age of 12 in that particular school. So we have our option over here which says allowed to remain in the school only up to the age of 12, which is option B, our right option, and we click option B and say next. So we come to question number 44 of the same passage, and we scroll down, and the question is Alexander became well off by working in a shipping company. The options are when his brother became a successful occultist, C says because he studied medicine, or D says by receiving a share in a legacy. And when we go up, we see over here in this line, he received a share in a legacy which made it possible for him to return to school. So our answer is going to be one of the options which says it's in fact option D. By receiving a share in a legacy, Alexander became well off and he could go to school after that. So we have to click option D and say next. So on to question number 45, and scroll down again. Question asks us, Alexander left school. Options are to study economics, to work with his brother, to study medicine, or due to financial problems. And we scroll up the passage. So it reads over here, Alexander was forced to leave school for financial reasons. Very clearly stated here. So our answer is going to be the same. Alexander left school. Option D says due to financial problems. This is going to be our answer. So we click here, option D. Say save and next. So we come to question number 46 of reading comprehension. It's a new passage. We are going to read that. It reads, a guest speaker was addressing the faculty and the students in the college auditorium. I had joined the faculty the year before and was already drawing attention. I was 27, full of assumptions about myself, quick with a comment on everything, and expected people to pay attention to all that I had said. I listened to the talk for the first 5 minutes. By the 7th, I was looking around to check if others were listening. By the 10th, I had glanced at my watch 3 times and yawned once. After 20 minutes, I was thoroughly bored and telling myself that it was difficult to sit through such an insipid talk. I wanted to share some of my expert comments with my neighbor, but he was completely sold out to the speaker and looked like it was the greatest day of his life. I was disgusted. I tried to catch a word or phrase from the talk, only to convince myself that this should be his last talk ever. The 1-hour talk took ages to end, and before the thanks were said, I jumped to my seat with a sigh of relief. My neighbor smiled at me and said, the talk was wonderful, wasn't it? I retorted, it almost killed me with kindness. So the question now which follows, the first question is, what do you understand about the narrator from the description in the first paragraph? Options are he was a genius, he was knowledgeable, he was self-conceited, and he was charismatic. And our answer is right there, in fact throughout the paragraph, but in the beginning paragraph itself, it said I was 27, full of assumptions about myself, quick with a comment on everything, and expected people to pay attention to all that I had said. So we know that he was self-conceited, in a word, and the other options wouldn't make sense. He was a genius. Nothing in the passage suggests that. He was knowledgeable. Nothing in the passage suggests that. Charismatic, again nothing. But he was self-conceited. Yes, he was too full of himself. He thought very highly of himself. So we call those kind of people self-conceited. So our answer is going to be option C, which says he was self-conceited. So we click option C and say next. Coming on to question number 47, it's of course from the same passage. So we scroll down the passage till we come to the question. It reads, how did the narrator respond to the speech? Options are: he was glued, he was bored, he did not mind it, or he was engrossed in it. And we can see throughout the passage it says, like over here it says, after 20 minutes, I was thoroughly bored. This is his attitude throughout the lecture that was happening, which is he was bored. So we have our answer right here of the passage, and it is option B, which says he was bored. This is our right option right here. So we click option B and say save and next. So we come to question number 48, and we scroll down the passage, look at the question. It reads, the narrator was disgusted because the options are: his neighbor was engrossed in an insipid talk, the talk was boring, he could not understand it, or he was impatient. And let's get down to the section of the passage which says he was disgusted. So there we have it. I was disgusted. And why was he disgusted? It must be something that went before him. It was difficult to sit through an insipid talk. And with his neighbor, he was completely sold out to the speaker and looked like it was the greatest day of his life, which is why he was disgusted. So we have our answer in the passage over here. So let's scroll down to the options, and there we have it. Option A, which says his neighbor was engrossed in an insipid talk. This is going to be the right answer, and we shall click on option A and then say save and next. So on to question number 49, and let's scroll down to the question because it's the same passage. And it says, when the speech ended, the narrator was, options read, happy, relieved, exhausted, or disgusted. And let's go up to the passage. It says, in the very last paragraph, it says, the 1 hour talk took ages to end, and before the thanks was said, I jumped to my feet with a sigh of relief. Okay, so relief is his emotion upon the completion, upon the ending of the lecture, the talk. So when the speech ended, our option is going to be, in fact, not happy, not exhausted, not disgusted, but relieved, which is option B. So we click option B and say save and next. So on to number 50, and the question, it's right down, scrolling down. It reads, how long did the narrator listen to the speech without judgment? The options are 7 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 minutes, or 20 minutes. Let's scroll up the passage to see the beginning of it. It says, in the second paragraph, it says, I listened to the talk for the first 5 minutes. And by the 7th, he was looking around. So he was listening without judgment only for the first 5 minutes. And that is going to be our answer. Look at the options again. Do we have 5 minutes? Yes, we have 5 minutes, which is option C. It is going to be option C, which is going to be the answer. So I'm going to click option C. Save and next. So we come to question number 51 in reading comprehension, and we have the passage, a fresh passage. We'll read that. It reads, most successful companies, institutions and organizations have mission statements. Most individuals don't. As the chief executive officer of your own life in the knowledge era, you need a laser-like focus in your vision. You need a mission and a mission statement describing how you want to live, not just what you want to own, defining the person you want to become, not just the title you want to see on your door, outlining the knowledge you will receive, not just the degree you'll earn or your next promotion. I began the process this way: to be aware of the uniqueness of my associates, clients, friends and family, and to treat that uniqueness with loving concern. I was created to lead myself and others to understand win-win relationships and how to use them to improve the lives of all the persons with whom I come into contact. You too can frame your mission statement starting with your core values, working outward to your material desires and financial needs. So there we have the passage, and the question from here says, the first question from here it reads, what should a person's mission statement begin with? The options are your core values, what you want to acquire, your monetary ambitions, or your next promotion. And when we go to the passage, in fact not very far, we can read this line. It says, you too can frame your mission statement starting with your core values, working outwards to your material desires and financial needs. Your core values is the one which we need to focus. So mission statement, it should definitely begin with option A, which says your core values. This is our answer, our core values, your core values rather. And we click option A, save and next. So we come to question number 52. It's from the same passage. We have to scroll down, and it reads, what is the narrator's mission? Options are to discourage his friends and associates in every endeavor. B says to improve the lives of all his associates. C says to be aware of the strengths and weaknesses of his friends, or to ill-treat all. So narrator's mission, we can see it here. So over here in this paragraph, we see the process is to be aware of the uniqueness of my associates, clients, friends and family, and to treat that uniqueness with loving concern. So there we have it, narrator's mission. And when we go down to the options, we find that this is the option which suits it best, which is option B, to improve the lives of all his associates. There we have our answer. It's option B. Click option B and say next. So on to number 53, question number 53. It reads, what does a win-win relationship mean? The options are everyone must win always. B says there are no challenges. C says the relationship is beneficial to both parties. And D says the competition is friendly. And a win-win situation essentially means the relationship is beneficial to both parties. That is what a win-win relationship is. So we click option C. And we save and next. So we come to question number 54, and the question, write down the passage, reads, what are the suggested components of a mission statement? Options are win-win attitude, financial needs, knowledge. B says core values, material desires, financial needs. C says academic qualifications, love, material desires. And D says core values, joy and self-confidence. And when we go up to the passage, we can read this sentence over here. It says you can frame your mission statement starting with your core values, working outwards to your material needs and financial needs, material desires and financial needs. So there we have it, our answer. Core values, material desires and financial needs. And in fact, we have an option which says all of these, which is option B. Core values, material desires and financial needs. This is our answer. It's option B. We click here, option B. Move on to the next question, which is question number 55, and it reads, who is responsible for designing a personal mission? Options are Chief Executive Officer, family and friends, the individual or the company. And right at the beginning of the passage, it reads, most successful companies, institutions, organizations have mission statements. Most individuals don't. As Chief Executive Officer of your own life in the knowledge area, which is said of your own life in the knowledge area, you need a laser-like focus in your vision. So this is it. If you're Chief Executive Officer of your own life, it means the individual. It's just a different way of saying it. So it is the individual over here. And we, of course, have the option down below, which is option C, which says the individual. This is our right answer. We click option C, and then I say next. So on to question number 56 of reading comprehension. It's a new passage. We are going to read the passage. It reads, Stockholm is spread out on an archipelago of 14 islands where Lake Mälaren meets the Baltic Sea. More airy than Venice, with wide open spaces, it is 1/3 water. Its other 2/3 combine arched bridges, jet fountains and palatial buildings trimmed with gold. For Stockholmers, fans of great outdoors, this is an amiable and graceful home and a healthy environment in which to live. Minutes from the city center are parks and woodland for recreation and clear water for swimming and fishing. In winter, everyone takes to ice skating on artificial rings in the shadows of grand palaces or on the frozen waters of the Channel. Stockholm is also a city at the leading edge of fashion, design and advanced technology. Fashion houses and IT companies use the city as a test market for their innovations, especially as Stockholmers are followers of technology. Stockholm is the capital as well as the largest city of Sweden. It is the site of the government and parliament of the country. So this is the passage before us, and the first question from this passage asks us, an archipelago is a collection of options are cities, islands, lakes and coral reefs. And if you know your geography well, an archipelago is a collection of islands, which is option B. So we click option B and say next. So on to question number 57. We scroll down for the question. It reads, Stockholm is, options are 1/3 water and 2/3 arched bridges, jet fountains and palatial buildings. Option B says 2/3 water and 1/3 land. Option C says full of tall buildings, and D says a city with lots of people. And if we scroll up to the passage, it says right over here in this line, it is 1/3 water, and its other 2/3 combine arch bridges, jet fountains and palatial buildings. So there we have it, 1/3 water and 2/3 combine all these things. So we indeed have an option like that right at the bottom, which is option A, which says 1/3 water and 2/3 arch bridges, jet fountains and palatial buildings, which is going to be our answer, the right answer. So we click option A, save and next. On to number 58. And the question reads, what is the opposite of the word amiable? The options given are innovating, refreshing, invigorating, or unpleasant. And this is a vocabulary question. And the opposite of amiable is unpleasant. Amiable is something very pleasant, so the opposite is unpleasant. We click option D. Then say next. So on to question number 59, and we scroll down for the question. It reads, why is Stockholm used as a test market for innovation by IT companies and fashion houses? Options read, the Stockholmers are followers of technology. Option B says, Stockholm is the largest city of Sweden. C says, the citizens are fashionable. And D says, the people like the outdoors. And we can see it in the passage over here. This line which says, fashion houses and IT companies use the city as a test market for their innovations, especially as Stockholmers are followers of technology. We have our answer right there, because Stockholmers are followers of technology. So read the options again, and there we have our option, the right option, which is option number A, which says the Stockholmers are followers of technology. This is the right option. We click option A. And then we come to our next question, question number 60, and the last one from this passage, and also from reading comprehension. Scroll down until we see the question. It reads, Stockholm is important to the country because options are, it has palatial buildings, there are parks and woodlands for recreation. C says there are artificial skating rinks, and D says it is the largest city and capital of Sweden. So the option, right option over here, it says right here it says Stockholm is the capital as well as the largest city of Sweden. It is the site of the government and parliament as well. And Stockholm is, which is why Stockholm is important to the country. The main reason is these. So we have an option which says it is option D. It is the largest city and capital of Sweden, which is why it is so important to the country and not because of any of the other things. So we click option D. Save and next. And there we have it. We are ready to submit all our answers. Let's submit. And submit once again. Submitted successfully. And there we have the solutions. So thank you so much.